Welcome back to A Couple Threads. I'm Heather.
I'm Armand.
The theme I have for us today is coworker chaos.
Beautiful.
Yes. All right. Our first story coming from r/relationship advice titled My 27 male, wife 28 female, returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at a loss. How do I move forward? I, 27 male, am in a fight with my wife, 28 female. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts, married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter who's 4. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety around traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she just wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and held the fort down at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of skipping the retreat altogether. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird as the trip went on. We had a system: if either of us is away for extended periods, we keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or my daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in the retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that, nor was I making her keep her word either. She said I wasn't being fair and this networking opportunity was really important to her. They were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised that she would do that and rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23 male, was in almost every single picture and video attached to her hip. In one pic, he had his arm too comfortably around her. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during this retreat with the team. If I had questioned, she'd say that she was tired or networking. There was always something, but I've never seen her like this at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She was stressed and said it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kind of brushed it off after making a big deal about it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present, but when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic with us. Her family has a history of infidelity. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with the hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite, but I am not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I've never doubted her. But this bruise does not look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I've been in Vegas many times. There's more hickeys than bug bites.
This is true. I don't know that I've ever received a bug bite in Vegas.
I don't think I've ever received a bug bite in Vegas.
I also have never seen a bug bite turn into a bruise. As someone who's allergic to spider bites, and they do swell and get a little obnoxious looking, a bruise / hickey is way different than what a bug bite looks like.
This is just one of those things where if your gut's telling you this, then chances are it is.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that he saw the pictures with her coworker, and when you get that level of uncomfortability, seeing how someone is like wrapping his arm around her kind of thing, it's like,
for sure,
you don't do that to coworkers necessarily.
Yeah. And there's a level. Like, you can have your arm around them, but if you're too close, then you're too close.
You could always sense in a picture when there's like something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah, I would say this is just one of those things where if his gut's telling him that's what it is, then chances are that's what it is.
I agree. And I think, like, having a bad gut feeling from this guy off the jump before even these pictures came out, like, is definitely something to consider. I think, honestly, they're not going to be able to figure anything out until she's either honest or he lets it go. There's not going to ever be anything else that comes from this.
See, the problem is, though, let's say nothing happened, right? And she says nothing happened. Deep down, he's still gonna feel like something happened.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
He's never gonna believe it. Yeah.
No, it's always gonna like fester inside his mind. And in the future, if something does happen as far as infidelity and it does come out, then it's gonna be worse.
Yeah. I wonder if, I mean, obviously when people do cheat, there is guilt involved. Yeah. And I wonder if him saying, like, the infidelity is a sore topic in our family, that she's, like, really trying to cover her butt, you know?
And, like, obviously, like, I would never put full force, like, if I was in a relationship and the person's parents or my parents, for example, were cheating. For me personally, I would be the one to break that.
No, for sure.
But on the other side is, if that's what she's seen with her family, she could view it as normality.
Yeah.
And be like, it's one of those things where, like, if your dad, for example, is alcoholic, either you're going to be an alcoholic or you're completely
or you learn from it. Yeah,
learn from
100%.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a good point, too.
I agree. Yeah. How do you think they move forward with this? Is breaking up the only option, or?
I mean, you have to know the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
I think it is hard, though, because like you said, even if she didn't, he's always gonna believe that she did,
I would at least, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And I don't blame the 23-year-old either.
No, it's not his fault.
Yeah, in the end, it's going to be her fault if she did do something.
And then at the end of the day, a 23-year-old is going to think that he scored by getting a married woman,
Single, in Vegas, married woman.
Yeah, that's the ideal setup for him. Oh, yeah. Right, let's see what comments have to say. First comment. I have been to Vegas and never ever saw a single bug.
I swear. I don't think I've seen a single bug in Vegas.
It goes on to say, it is very dry, desert-like. Not saying they aren't there, but she definitely wasn't bitten by a bug. And I agree. I've never personally seen a bug in Vegas, and especially on a work
Seen a
retreat
lot
if
of
you're
stuff
in
Vegas, not
yeah if you're in like the hotels and conference rooms and stuff, even more so,
yeah.
there's not a bug. Right. Should we move on to our
Yeah.
next story? All right. Next story coming from r/am I the titled, "Am I the for moving someone's food out of the office microwave so I could use it?"
Yes.
You think so? Just
No.
based on the title?
No, you let it sit in there for a while. I'm gonna use it too.
Yeah, exactly. So I, 25 female, work as a nurse in a doctor's office. Our office is hard to explain, but basically there's a business office section, a specialty clinic, long-term post-op, and another specialty clinic, chronic disease management, that is separate from the first. We all work for the same company, but don't work closely together daily. I work in the chronic disease management clinic. I'll call the two clinics post-op and CDM for clarity. The two clinics have their own patients and do not overlap at all. So all three sections share bathrooms, break rooms, a lounge area, water fountain, kitchen, etc. This literally happened like a year ago, but I cannot stop thinking about it. I'm an hourly employee, so I clock in and out for lunch. I am in graduate school, so I spend my hour lunch doing homework, listening to lectures, etc. And that time is invaluable to me to be able to work full-time while being in school full-time. I'm also required to go to my lunch from 11:30 to 12:30 every day. Anyways, one day I clocked out for lunch at 11:30 and went to the kitchen to heat up my food. All three of the microwaves were being used, except one of them had food in it that was already heated up. Timer had already gone off, and no one was standing next to it. I waited for about 5 minutes. No one came to get it. I asked the other people in the kitchen/break room if it was their food, and no one claimed it. So, being on a timed lunch, I took the food out of the microwave and placed it on the counter so I could use the microwave to heat up my lunch as the other two were still in use. As I'm waiting for my food to heat up, one of the nurse practitioners, let's call her Jewel, from the post-op clinic, not my clinic, who I had never spoken to, came into the break room to get her food. It was her food that I had taken out and placed on the counter. I was on my phone, so I wasn't really paying attention. When she came and grabbed her food, she just said, "Okay," and walked away swiftly. Ever since then, Jewel does not speak to me, doesn't say hi, has never introduced herself, will not make eye contact with me when talking in a group, etc. One of the medical assistants who works in my clinic, Melissa, has befriended her, so Jewel comes over to my clinic pretty often to chat with Melissa. It sounded like they had known each other for years, so I had asked Melissa if they knew each other outside of work. She said no, they just met here at the office. As I'm sitting right next to them chatting, I'll sometimes laugh at their jokes or make a few random comments, and Jewel just completely ignores me, will not even glance in my direction, and pretends I do not exist. Now I feel like Jewel has something against me for the microwave situation, as it has been over a year since that happened, and her behavior towards me has not changed. So, am I the for moving Jewel's food to heat up mine?
Joe could kiss my no.
I agree. I 100% agree. That is also something very petty to like not talk to someone over.
It doesn't matter what you do on your hour.
Yeah.
In the end, like I could go on my hour lunch and stare at the wall if I want to. And then that's my hour. And,
exactly.
and if we only have and people in the workforce know this, your lunchtime is invaluable. Okay, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour. So every single one of those minutes counts, whether you're not eating or not, you should be on your lunch. Now, for her to get upset because, and second of all, she waited. It's not like it just...
she wasn't even in the room,
right,
like, waiting
but
for it.
But it's like it went beep and she just took it off and, like, chucked it to the side. You know, if that was me, that would have gone in the trash. But if you waited 5 minutes, you saw if anyone was around, I would have done the same thing.
No, me too.
It doesn't matter if it's in the microwave or on the counter. It's going to stay the same. I mean, the microwave might insulate a little bit better, but still.
Yeah, she's going to have to reheat it up anyway. That's her fault for walking away.
No.
Comments agree. Everyone is saying not the... Top comment says, maybe Jewel doesn't like others touching her food. She should have been there to remove it. Just a question. If in 5 minutes you say you waited and no one else moved their food, and I think that is interesting. If there is multiple people waiting and it's been 5 minutes,
As
no
someone who
one
has
else.
OCD, and you can agree with this, if I don't want anyone touching my food, I will stand right next to my food.
Right in front of
Right
it,
when the
waiting
microwave
for
is
it.
about to go off. Not when it goes off, like 1 or 2 seconds before it goes off, and take it out.
Yeah,
So
for
no,
sure.
that's BS.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's definitely just being petty, and I think women especially like to find little things to be petty about. I don't understand like giving her the cold shoulder over that.
She's petty.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. All right, our next story. This one is coming from an interesting subreddit for us, not one that we visit very often.
Okay.
Coming from r/UK law. Titled, I advised a fellow trainee about a wardrobe malfunction and now have a meeting scheduled with HR due to accusations of sexual harassment. Looking for advice as I feel sick with worry. Hi all. Made this as a throwaway to protect my identity. Sorry if this isn't really the right place, but I'm not sure where else to post and I need some advice. I am a trainee at a decently sized city firm. Earlier this week, I was walking behind one of my fellow female trainees and noticed that their underwear, thong style, was showing above their skirt. She had come out of the bathroom about 15 seconds or so before, so I imagined she just hadn't noticed. I thought of ignoring it, but then she could have been attending a client meeting or similar, so I just ran up to her and said, "Hey, sorry to point this out, and I wasn't sure whether to say anything, but your thong is showing above your skirt." She looked embarrassed, but thanked me and just readjusted her skirt. We then made some awkward small talk before we went to our different directions. I hadn't thought anything more of it until I got an email from HR on Friday saying that I was being investigated for sexual harassment and have been asked to attend a meeting. I am aware that this is what that was about now, and I feel sick. I have barely eaten or slept this weekend. There was nothing sexual or suggestive intended by my comments, and I was just trying to look out for my colleague in a professional capacity. I wouldn't say we're particularly close, but we get along very well, and I'd consider her a friend at least. Should I message her to apologize and explain? I've never been in a situation like this before, and I am extremely worried about losing my job because of a misunderstanding.
This is what happens when you care.
Fair.
This is
I understand.
exactly what happens when you care. Maybe 10 years ago, me might say something. To you, I'd say something.
Yeah.
These days, I probably wouldn't have said anything. I would have let it go because this is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And not all the time,
No,
but I'm
for
saying,
sure.
but like, this is now, right now, it's going to be a big issue for him. I'm assuming it's a guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an issue either way though, because had he not said anything and she did have a meeting and noticed later and knew that he had saw, she could have still been upset that he
It's harder
didn't
to
say
prove
anything.
that
For sure.
she saw him see that. He could have easily been like, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's
and that's
true.
easier to get away with.
Yeah.
But the fact that he pointed it out,
Just trying to be a nice guy.
Just trying to be nice, or not even just a nice guy, but just a nice colleague. And now look what happens.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
Let's see. Comments. Top comment is, first off, do not message the fellow trainee.
Agreed.
If you are now subject to investigation, even if your intentions were good, messaging someone who has accused you of sexual harassment while in an open investigation will not benefit your case.
It'll make it worse.
Yeah, 100%. And he does seem like, just a very nice guy and wants to apologize if he did make her feel uncomfortable.
Of course, going by like if this story is 100% legit, which I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I agree. This might be a hot take, but sometimes I feel like when situations like that arise, the women take it as, oh, but he likes me, so that makes it different. You know what I mean? Like, he's looking at me like that makes it a different situation. Like,
Like she
as
wouldn't have reported it if that was the case, or
yeah, because if it was, no, like opposite. Like if it was another girl who said the same thing to her, she would have been like, "Oh, girls are just looking out for girls." Like would have never
right,
said anything.
right.
But she's finding it as like, "Oh, like he's looking at me like that."
And she's grossed out by it.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I think. It doesn't make any sense, but because if
or she
girls
just
do that to other girls, no one's going to care.
well, yeah. Or she's just trying to get
Attention.
attention, settlement, all that crap.
And it did say they're both trainees, so I wonder if like,
Hmm.
that's leverage for like
That could
something
be a little bit of
further.
leverage, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was, you know, harassed during our training
So
program
now I
kind of thing.
can't be let go or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, what are we gonna do? Next story today, coming from r/am I the titled "Am I the for telling my coworker to freshen up for an important event?" Throwaway account since people involved use Reddit. I, 32 male, work at a company with the occasional events. I take them as chances to network with people from other companies and so on. My coworker, 33 male, who we'll call Ben, is pretty scruffy, showing up to work in the same outfit he wore the previous day and even sleeping at his desk sometimes. I've never interacted with him one-on-one per se, but we've been on the same projects and I'm friendly with him. Here's where the issue is. Recently, there was a company event, and for once, Ben didn't really participate or speak about it beforehand, so most of us assumed he wasn't going. I didn't expect him to come, of course, but he did, in the most unprofessional outfit. He was wearing wrinkled clothes and colors that just did not match, like he rolled out of bed. He walked up to my circle and we locked eyes, and I joked that he should have freshened up a bit to attend an event like this. There were some chuckles, but everyone was mostly silent. He soon walked away, and my other coworker pulled me aside and told me that I was way out of line, and her and my colleagues think I shouldn't have spoken about his attire, especially since I don't know him very well. I thought I was just making a joke to lighten the mood. I haven't seen him since, and he's been actively avoiding me. Mostly everyone in my circle is expecting me to apologize to him. Am I the for making a joke?
Is she? It's a female.
Male.
Oh, it's a male.
Mm-hmm.
Is he his superior?
Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like they're kind of the same level.
If he's not a superior, you
Doesn't have a right to say anything. Yeah, I agree.
just do the normal thing and make jokes behind.
Wait for him to walk away
Yeah,
at
of course.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, if you're in the same level or different departments, but you're not a superior, in my opinion, you don't have a right to tell them,
No.
hey, freshen up. If you're close with him in a way where you're like a little bit of friends,
Yeah, where you can joke around
where you can
like
joke
that.
around like
Yeah.
that from a good place, and see, this is what happens when you can't. From a good place, you can say like,
Hey, man.
there's
Yeah.
ways to approach this.
Right, for sure.
But the way he did it, no.
It doesn't seem like it was like out of concern either. Like it was genuinely like just to like be like making fun of. Like it wasn't like, hey, like I really think like giving you some man advice here, like you should really next time, put on a suit or something. It wasn't anything like that. It was like,
I think also it's just one of those things where people like to give their opinions when not asked.
Yeah.
Because they think they know better, especially if it's like it is those people who extra fresh. Like, don't get me wrong, freshen up.
Right.
Being fresh
Yeah.
is good, but
Extra.
the ones
Yeah.
that like go that extra mile, you know what
For
you guys
sure.
I'm talking about, and they have to give that feedback or opinion to
Yeah.
people who don't ask for it.
I agree.
And then there's some guys who don't care for it, which is not good either. But in the end, just comes down to it was not his place to say anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, you never know what someone's dealing with either.
Agreed. Yeah,
And
yeah.
like with him saying like he sleeps at his desk sometimes and like he always is showing up in like the same outfit, like he might be like homeless,
He
you
could
know?
be
Like
homeless.
you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I didn't think of it.
Yeah,
You
we've
started
had a coworker that was homeless and we didn't know,
Yeah.
you know, like
Or it could be really broke.
yeah.
You know,
There's a
times
lot
are
of other
tougher.
factors.
You know.
Yeah. And especially like he said, like, I don't know him that well. So if you're making that blank of a joke
Yeah.
and not knowing the person, there could be a lot of underlying factors.
Like
as
if
well.
it becomes a concern from like management and you
Yeah.
are going to an event, then yes, there are certain protocols where you are supposed to
Right.
professional.
Yeah. But again, it should come from management.
Up top.
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree. Let's see what comments have to say. Top comment is, I'm so confused. What was the joke? You told a coworker you barely know that he should freshen up because his clothes were rumpled and unkept at a company event. You told him this because you thought he looked bad and should have freshened before coming. To make your humiliation out of this man even worse, you told him in front of a group of coworkers, some of whom chuckled. Yeah, and the overall vote is that he is the for this.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think, you know, with everything, there can be good intentions, whether it was to make a joke or whether it was to, like, give him some advice. But I think it just was handled 1,000% wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Next story, coming from r/AITAH, titled, Am I the for treating my coworker differently after she accused me of SA when I saved her life?
Oh. I was like, what?
You got it?
What is young kids' terms right now? Got it. Go. Continue.
I am a quiet guy and genuinely friendly. I treat all of my coworkers as friends. About 2 months ago, during a work lunch, one of my coworkers started choking, so I did the Heimlich thing to help her. After she's in the clear and others cheered, I asked if she was all right. She just nodded and headed to the bathroom with her head down without a word, so I didn't think much of it. Until 2 days later, I got a call into HR for inappropriate behavior.
You should let her choke.
I was confused and asked for more details. That's when they told me that my coworker had filed a complaint stating that she felt my touches, and when I was helping her, it was inappropriate. My body was too close, and she felt my private touching her. I gave my statement, and they put me on thin ice. I was still working with the potential to be removed while they investigated further. After a week, I was in the clear. I returned to working normally without fear, but I started distancing myself from the coworker. She tried to apologize, which I accepted, and tried to explain that she has to tell me that she has trauma, but I still need to take precautions and just treat her as a colleague. I am no longer talking to her unless I need to. Always keeping distance, no longer inviting her out unless others do. She could feel my hesitant towards her, and how no longer treating her the same as others. She tried to say that I'm being ridiculous and petty, but I told her that I'm just looking after myself. Am I the
No. There's no winning.
No,
winning.
seriously.
I swear.
Yeah.
There's like just one of those other stories. Like, see what happens if you just if you care or try to do something good.
I know. It's just, it stinks because, like, had he not done that and, like, no one else stepped up,
But there's
like,
witnesses there too, because you said like there's people that cheered, right?
Yes.
There's witnesses.
Yes. But there is that gray area of you do have to get very close to someone to perform a Heimlich.
Well, yeah, you have to. You do. You can't do it wirelessly.
And, like, I'm sure that she did feel his privates touching her, but it wasn't meant to be that way, you know?
I would have let her. That's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. It's crazy, all these people, like you said, just
frustrating me.
just trying to care and end up getting in all this trouble.
It's just one of those things, like, damn if you do, damn if you don't, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's, like, avoiding her like the plague, and she's like, oh, you're being petty. It's like,
Like, you're the petty one.
It's not a matter of patience. It's like, there's no winning.
Right. Like, what do you want from me? Like, and I think it's interesting that she brings up, like, well, I have trauma, so that's why I reported it. Like, sure. But, like, would you have rather died? Would you have rather just not been alive anymore? I don't know.
I got a lot to say, but I'm not going to say it. Because I'm going to go on a 30-minute rant right now.
That's fine. Let me hear it. Oh. Do you want to hear the top comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Top comment is, you have to avoid her now. That's the answer.
Yeah.
The only answer.
Agreed.
You weren't fired this time, but she has the power to get you fired next time.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Everyone is saying not the and everyone is kind of in agreement with that comment as well, that keep your distance at absolute most possible now. Like,
and it's like, if he didn't do anything, they would have been like, he was sitting right there, you didn't do anything, you know?
Exactly. And I feel like she would have even said that. Like, guys, really? Like, no one helped me? I was choking.
Because of situations like this.
Yeah. I know there's, like, a whole legal thing with that, too. Like, if you perform the Heimlich on, like, a stranger, you can technically get sued because, like, you're not a doctor. You don't, like, know what you're doing.
Correct.
But I don't know.
Correct.
Not that I know how to do the Heimlich, but I feel like if I see someone choking...
I know how to do the Heimlich. I know how to do the Heimlich, but yes, if let's say you're at a restaurant outside and someone's choking, do the Heimlich and they injure themselves,
like break a rib or something,
you can get sued. So I would assume it would be the same thing at the workplace. Yeah,
but
that's
it's
you
crazy.
Just sit down and enjoy your lunch and just go down.
It's just crazy though, especially with choking, because like, yes, you can call an ambulance, yes, you can do this, that, whatever, but
you
like,
only have so much time.
Yeah, and like with choking, it can be very fast, you know?
I've choked on a steak and that sucks.
Yeah.
Good thing it came out. No one Heimlich me.
I'm so sorry.
Not even bother.
Oh dear. I have one last story for us today. Also coming from r/AITH.
Okay. Titled,
Am I the for calling an ambulance, which got my coworker fired?
This is all the same workplace? Like, all
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
So that same clinic.
The same clinic.
This is three different clinics.
This got removed originally, so I'm reposting.
Okay.
I, 27 female, was at a group work training for my job this past weekend. The company put a bunch of us in a hotel and had us attend a day-long presentation about our goals for the next quarter. For context, we're in sales. It's highly competitive, and the group consisted of mostly older employees, with me being the youngest. After a full day of meetings, a few of us decided to get dinner at a restaurant down the street from our hotel. We carpooled, and when we arrived, one of the older ladies, Deborah, was already there, standing at the bar. We invited her to join us for food, but she declined, and we moved on with our night. I had 2 beers with dinner, so I'm not judging, but as we finished our meal, it became very clear that Deborah was plastered. She was stumbling even though the ground was level and slurring really bad. As we left, Deborah came outside with us and reached for her keys. I immediately stopped her and said I'd drive her back to her hotel. She agreed. But as we went to grab the passenger door handle, she missed and fell straight back onto the pavement, hitting the back of her head. I don't mean to be gross, but it sounded like someone dropped a carton of eggs. I checked, and not only was she passed out, but was bleeding from her head. Everyone panicked, and I grabbed... Not Deborah. Everyone panicked, and I grabbed my phone to call 911. One of the younger guys stopped me and said, "Help me get her in the car. We'll get her to her room and get her room key out of her purse and just put her to bed." I was bewildered and said, "But she has a head injury. Yeah. She's bleeding. What if she cracked her skull?" I'm no doctor, but if you go to sleep with a head injury, don't you just not wake up? I'm pretty sure I learned that in school, and some other employee agreed with me, so I called an ambulance. Paramedics took Deborah to the hospital, and she survived, though she was in really bad shape when I checked up on her the next day. Here's where I may be the Our managers found out that Deborah was hospitalized for over drinking while technically at a work function, and they then fired her on the spot. Everyone also found out that I was the one who insisted on calling the ambulance. The older employees are all saying I did the right thing and that she could have died, but the younger ones are calling me a snake and saying I got her fired on purpose for competition. Am I the asshole?
For competition. So what do I live competition?
By saving that
Yeah.
once again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's not the.
No, I don't think so.
I would have done the same thing because and the fact that like it's one thing if you like pass out and you leave them in the hotel room, but if she's like she clearly fell, cracked her head, is bleeding. Yeah. No, there's a good chance she could die from that.
It says she's in her 50s, question mark. Yeah. So it's not like she could just get back up either, you know? Yeah. Like,
no, I did the right thing.
Yeah. I think it's not his fault that, one, management found out, and two, that they decided to fire her. That was because they fired her over drinking too much at a work function, not whether or not you called the ambulance, you know?
But can you drink too much at a work function?
I'm sure.
You can't even drink at a work function, though. Because typically, when I've been to a work function, we have our work function and it's till 6 o'clock.
Yes.
We can't drink until 6 o'clock.
Right. And that's what he's saying. Like, they all went to dinner after the fact. But because I think the work was, like, paying for their hotel, paying for their stay, I think it was still considered, like, I don't know.
Okay, I guess that's a fine line.
Yeah.
If they are paying for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're not on the clock.
Right. Then I guess it is kind of like use your best judgment at that point.
But in the end, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I think so.
But me personally,
especially if I see a little old lady.
Because of this. That's what happens.
Like you said, when you care.
Yeah, that's what happens when you care.
So what, you would have let her drive back to the hotel?
No, I would have got someone else to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, the other guys do it. If I can do it.
I mean, I do understand that part of it, but I definitely think, like, if anything, you were the only one that did the right thing by calling the ambulance, where everyone else was just gonna let her bleed out.
Yeah, morally, he did the right thing.
Right.
Of course. And in the end, did she get fired? Yes. Did he potentially save her life? Yes.
Right. But it's not
Did she say anything to Deborah?
Not that I'm seeing, no.
She didn't have anything to say after.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm seeing is that, like, she seemed okay when he went to go check back up on her. Also, when you face a head injury, like, sometimes you don't really remember. And if you're
depending on the head
plastered, too.
That's true. She could have been already, like, blacked out or not remembering what was going on anyways. Regardless of the fact.
Right.
We all learned a very important lesson today.
I agree. Don't care. Be selfish. Real quick, top comment is saying, not the you did the right thing. Smashing your head against the ground can be fatal, even from small falls. And if she got fired from something that she did, that is not your fault. Yeah. And I agree.
And in the end, you're a 50-year-old woman and you can't control how much you drink, or if you know what happens when you drink too much and you're at a work function, in the end, that is your responsibility.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like you're 20 and still, you know.
Even then.
But sometimes people don't know what happens like when they drink, you know what I mean? Like when they're young.
Yeah.
And then their friends tell them, hey, you're terrible.
Take 2 more. Yeah.
You're terrible when you drink.
Right.
We've all met those kinds of people. But no, being 50, that in the end, ultimately, all this was her fault.
100%. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And, like, it sucks that she got fired, but at the end of the day, she's alive.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. Maybe she'll control her alcohol a little more.
Or at least do it at home, like normal.
Or at least not on a work function.
Or at least not on a work function.
Yeah, you can go out.
And Uber back. So easy. Come on.
All right. All right. Well, that is all I have for us today.
Perfect.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and also comment your opinions. And of course, if there's any updates on any of these Reddit stories,
Let us know.
let us know. Thanks.